Hello everyone, LongTime here, and today we're going to be going over my favorite lady in all of gaming, the bartender of the 7th heaven, TIFA Lockhart. Being one of the best damage dealers, debuffers, and a little bit of healing characters in the game, let's go over which weapons you should be building for her. Little disclaimer here at the start of every tier list. These tier lists are my opinion, and your opinions may be different than mine, or they might be the same, but either way, that's okay. You're free to have that opinion. This one's just mine. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it more down in the comments down below. All the factors that I'm using to decide where things go in the tier list are just right over here. Okay, so if you want to pause it, and that's good, okay? Let's get into the tier list. Starting off the tier list with Tifa's new banner weapon, okay, the Lifeguard Wraps. The Lifeguard Wraps here is, in my opinion, it was an extra little thing that Tifa was missing for just, so you can build her in almost any way possible with these, okay? They give the boost heal, fire resistance, really nothing too special, nothing too crazy on the materia side, okay? But this gives an AoE heal, okay? It is 4 ATB as well, so it's still a small, it is a small heal in comparison to Eris, but it's also 1 ATB less, okay? She's not going to be a fantastic main solo healer, but it does make her quite a bit stronger. In my opinion, I put the Lifeguard Wraps over here. I'm going to put them into A tier. I'm going to put the Lifeguard Wraps into A tier. Though with the specific costume, I'm going to also put them into A+, but only if you have the costume to go along with it. Yeah, only if you have the costume go along with it. I would consider them A+. If you do not, then the Lifeguard Wraps are just strictly an A. It allows her to be flexible. You're still going to probably put something, either a debuff in the main hand or a really good weapon that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Next up is Tifa's starting weapon in Final Fantasy VII, the leather gloves. The leather gloves are a good piece of gear, okay? So if you're going to build Tifa as a debuffer, this is something you're going to want to focus on. You first check always to see if the boss is even immune to physical attack down or any of their debuffs. Always check the hard bosses to see what you can do to them. Otherwise, the weapon's going to be redundant. But for most cases, like if you're trying the level 30 Iron Giant, I know a lot of people are having trouble with that. This would be a fantastic weapon for them to lower that. Anytime he does those big buffs, guess what? You can chunk them down as long as it's not the framed buffs. Okay, leather gloves for me is an easy A+ tier. Okay, if you're building her for pure damage or you're building her as your healer, sure, you're not going to use it, but you're not going to go wrong with having these debuffs. So Tifa starting off strong with her first two weapons, and now we're going to transition very, very, very quickly now into, in my opinion, Tifa's worst weapon. Okay, the Grand Gloves here. Nothing special on the materia side. Okay, you would see that they heal. Okay, we talked about her lifeguards were good. Okay, 4 ATB AoE. This is 5 ATB. Sure, it removes silence and it removes poison. The status effects, silence, run more physical abilities. Poison, we have Isuna poison for that. Okay, but this, you can only target Tifa with this. In my opinion, the Grand Gloves is by far Tifa's worst weapon, just strictly because I hate most single target abilities in this game. It makes them a very selfish character, and that's just not going to help your team out in the long run. I know we're not talking about specific other characters, but not being able to help your team out at all just really drops this down as the worst weapon for Tifa. So we started off with some really good weapons. We went to Tifa's worst weapon, and so now we're transitioning into what, in my opinion, is Tifa's best weapon, is Sonic Striker. It does exactly what Tifa is known for in terms of, like, the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Tifa was a very, very good damage dealer. As you can see, your dive kick, this right now, as it stands in this game right this moment, in terms of, like, not elemental weakness or, like, resistances, dive kick is the strongest equipment ability that we currently have. Okay, water resistance, nothing special. Materia, nothing special. We are going purely based on that dive kick doing the most amount of damage that you can. So if you're planning to build Tifa as a damage dealer, and in my opinion, that's something that she does excel at because she's gonna do the most with this Sonic Striker. For me, the Sonic Striker is Tifa's must-have S tier weapon. You could build her in other ways. Yes, absolutely. With the Lifeguard Wraps, the leather gloves, and then the weapon that we're going to talk about next. You can build those. You can build her as a support. But if you're going to go for DPS, which is I think Tifa excels at really, really well, Sonic Striker for me is her S tier weapon because just nothing's going to hit harder under the correct situations than Dive Kick. For the weapon that we're moving on to next is the Tiger Fangs, okay? You're going to notice that it's very similar to Leather Gloves, okay? It does magic attack down instead of Leather Gloves physical attack down. So this is just this is the yin to the yang, okay? You're going to use this depending on what you're trying to fight. If your boss, the boss that you're dealing with, is it going to be like the Iron Giant where it's going to slash you with its big blade? You're going to use Leather Gloves. If you're going up against like a beefed up Guard Scorpion where its tail laser is one-shotting your characters, you're going to start to swap in your Tiger Fangs so you can lower its magic attack as long as it is, of course, able to get a magic attack down. Yeah, Tiger Fangs is good. The debuffs are going to allow us to beat different content that is, you're punching above your power level class. Okay, so that is the main goal between this leather and the Tiger Claws, the Tiger Fangs. Sure, it still does physical. I don't know why. The boost magic attack is a little random. The critical potency, sure, you're going to crit a little bit harder. Nothing special in terms of the materia side of things, but for the ability itself, for me, Tiger Fangs, easy. It's going to share the A+ tier along with Leather Gloves. You could equip, you're usually going to equip one or the other. Your chances are you're not going to fight too many bosses that do both. But if they do, then Tifa can take care of both in just both of her equipments. Now we're moving into the magical side of Tifa's weapons. Though she is a very magical lady, her in terms of magic damage, in my opinion, doesn't agree too well. Like you're looking at Sonic Strikers over there. You're looking at both her leather and her Tiger Fangs. It's all physical damage. She's going to be putting out good physical numbers. You can make magic work if you want Tifa to work. If the boss is weak to magic, if the boss is weak to lightning, you can pair it up over here. I would normally put this into a hard C tier, but strictly because it has the sigil boost. I love me some sigil boost. So if you are finding that you're having a hard time breaking it, we have not run into too many of those right now, but still, okay, I'll give Crystal Gloves a little bit of a C+, just a little bit of a C+ going into it, but the chances are you're probably still not going to build it. Motor Drive is a good weapon. Motor Drive is a very, very good weapon. Sure, it doesn't do that 500. It does 420. So even still, like with Cloud's Murasama, just in comparison to the weapons, Cloud's Murasama does 400 elemental single, but Tifa's, same with our Sonic Strikers, Tifa just does really, really good damage. She does really, really good physical damage. Nothing crazy in the materia department. If an enemy is weak to wind and physical, like this Motor Drive is going to be the hardest hitting thing in the game. And even still, like I would only build Motor Drive if it's like the only thing that you have. If it's like the only Tifa weapon that you have, for me it's a B. It's like an A-. It's an A- B+ in terms of the Motor Drive. God, I need to clearly make more tiers when it comes to this. Tifa's is a little bit more, it's a bit more situational, like the Crystal Gloves, if you need the sigil, if you need the lightning, C+. Definitely more of a C+. Motor Drive, I would put it more as an A- coming out of it. Like, if something's weak to winds, this is where you're going to be using Motor Drive, and it's going to do good damage. If you thought Cloud was doing good damage, he does have his outfits. If you thought Cloud was doing good damage against lightning weak units, Tifa's going to be doing amazing damage against wind weak units with this Motor Drive. This is where things get a little funky with Tifa. Okay, so this next weapon kind of pairs up well with the next weapon coming out of it. I would only run the Chi Trap if building characters is hard right now. Eventually, it's not going to be hard. So again, in the vacuum, different scenario. Building characters is hard, so if you are going up against an enemy that is strong against physical and you have to do magical damage, or your team just happens to be magical damage and you just enjoy building Tifa, then the Kaiser Knuckles are going to be good. Any sort of these debuffs, it doesn't work as well for her because, as you see so far for Tifa, if you're building her for physical, in terms of your Sonic Strikers, your Motor Drive, your Leather and Tiger, those are more for debuffs, but they still do physical damage. The Kaiser Knuckles are not going to help her They're not going to help her. They're not going to help her limit breaks, as it all does physical damage. Okay, but if you're running a magic team and you need to lower magic defense, then the Kaiser Knuckles are going to be okay. I'm going to put this still into B tier. Sure, they don't do what TIFA does and what TIFA needs, but for the Kaiser Knuckles, like they're a mid of the pack weapon. They also themselves do magic damage, so at least they self buff themselves. But I'm gonna put that into B tier. With TIFA's very last weapon that we have so far is the Powersoul. Okay, so this is the Sonic Striker of the magic side of things. Okay, with the 480. It's a big magical punch. So for me, I would like to pair up Powersoul with Kaiser Knuckles. So your magic defense downing, and then you're just Powersouling punching, and Tifa's just focusing on damage. Okay, so this is what makes her flexible to be able to deal magic damage if you really wanted to. Like Sonic Strikers into the other ones. If you're going to go for that heavy physical team, you have someone like Cloud, Barrett, Zach being able to give that physical damage down. But for Tifa here, she can Kaiser Knuckle and then she can just Powersoul herself. It makes her just a very flexible character. For me, I would put it, Powersoul, I would also put it in the B tier. You'd need someone to kind of support, or she could just support herself. That's why Kaiser Knuckle and Powersoul, they pair well together, but she's mainly still a physical damage dealer. So if you want to build her magic, flexible. If not, totally get it, but mid of the pack for me. So here's our Tifa weapon tier list. I clearly need to make some A+. I need to make some different categories or some way to really differentiate for you guys where I'm putting stuff. Motor Drive being a little bit down, Crystal Gloves being a little bit up. Okay, but we like the flexibility. Tifa is a very flexible character. Now, with both of her limit breaks, you can either build her for heavy single target damage with her water kick, or again, this is the limit break that, in my opinion, makes Tifa. You can see that casting speed 800. It's going to come up really fast, and it gives physical and magical defense down. So you put this always put this first in your limit break order when you're doing all three, and it's just going to self buff everything else that comes afterwards. Doesn't matter what character you're using, doesn't matter if you're using a summon. It's going to buff both of the things afterwards. So that's what makes Tifa one of the most flexible characters to play in this game, in my opinion. Again, heavy physical damage, heavy support, be it debuffs, both attack and the defense side. She can heal a little bit. She can deal magical damage. Tifa's going to be the next character that I'm building personally. So, let me know what you guys think. If you're enjoying these tier lists, I'm enjoying making them. So far, we're done 3 out of the 9 that we got. Okay, so if you're interested in more, please don't forget to subscribe. I also I stream over at twitch.tv/longtimetwitch. Everything in the description down below. Yeah, I'm going to see you guys in the next one. The next tier list we're going to be doing is Red 13, which should be out tomorrow. Okay? See you, everyone.